I thank all of these officers for being here, and there are a number of cases that we want to talk to you about. Obviously, we have a number of different jurisdictions here. But let me start out by saying, since all of these involve either a child death or child injury case, that there is nothing, almost nothing, as tragic as a young child's death, except for a preventable young child's death. And one of the goals that I want to put forth today is not only announcing the criminal charges in these cases, but also to impart to the public and to you information and learning more about protecting our children and our role in reducing these very real dangers that, again, are preventable. All of these situations could have been prevented. Leaving very young babies and children in unsafe sleep situations or unsupervised in swimming pools, hotels, houses, and cars can result in dead children and criminal charges. And these cases and these facts that I'm going to talk about today are difficult cases and facts, but the children that are dead in these cases are just as dead as if they had been shot by a bullet or battered to death. I'm going to start, before I go any further, and talk about the charges in these 5 cases today. And I want to start with one that happened at an Allen Park motel. Miss Terry Julite, Julite, and Saeed Al-Sadi of Dearborn Heights, we are charging them today with the following counts. In count 1, we are charging them we're charging just her, with an incident that happened on January 15th of 2013. They were staying with their children at an Allen Park motel located at the 14800 block of Southfield Road. They were staying in one room, and their children were staying in another room that was next door. It was not adjoining in any way. You had to go outside of the hotel room to get to the next room where they were staying. The 3 children, one child was 6 months old, had severe problems in the hospital but had been released and was born prematurely. There was a 12-year-old and 9-year-old that were staying in that particular room. Around 10:45 a.m., the infant was discovered by the sister laying on his stomach with a blanket over his head, unable to breathe, and it took the child 15 minutes of knocking on the door to awake the mother in the next room. The father had already left. So we are charging that the infant was in an unsafe sleep situation that ultimately led to his death. It's alleged that the infant was left to have been born premature and with medical issues in the care of minor children, and then they failed to monitor his condition in any way. And they placed the infant in an unsafe sleeping environment because the crib contained medical equipment, a blanket, and pillow. Ms. Julite has been charged with 1 count of second-degree murder, 1 count of involuntary manslaughter, and a 3rd count of child abuse in the 2nd degree. The father has been charged with 1 count of involuntary manslaughter and 1 count of child abuse in the 2nd degree. They will both be arraigned tomorrow, 11 o'clock, in the 34th District Court. The second case that we're charging today happened in the city of Detroit, and the Detroit Police Department is represented here. And we are charging the mother, Eleanor Crosby, 21 of Detroit, in connection with the death of her child that occurred on December the 4th, 2011. The child was 6 months old. It occurred at a friend's house located on the street of Plymouth in the city of Detroit. Ms. Crosby was allegedly intoxicated when she fed her child in the morning and then placed the child in the bed with her to sleep. The child was dead at 10 a.m. the same day and was pronounced dead by emergency personnel. We are charging her with 1 count of involuntary manslaughter, 1 count of child abuse in the 2nd degree, and she will be arraigned today at 1 o'clock in the 36th District Court. And I should tell you that and I will talk about later in a few minutes, that we have had a number of these unsafe sleep-related deaths, but these are the first 2, to my knowledge, in the history of this office where we've charged them criminally. The 3rd case that we're going to talk about this morning is a mother from the state of Iowa, and we are charging her with leaving her infant alone in a vehicle. Now, fortunately, this child did not die, fortunately. Aisha Tahir, 29 of Iowa, we are charging her with 1 count of leaving a child in a vehicle resulting in physical harm. It's a misdemeanor that carries a mandatory term of 1-year penalty. This happened on June 28, 2013. A police officer was dispatched out to the location of a Walmart store on Bellevue Road in Van Buren Township because an infant was observed in a locked car with all of the windows closed. It is alleged that Ms. Tahir left her 6-month-old infant in the car when the temperature at the time was 77 degrees with a 64% humidity rate. The medics were called to the scene, and fortunately, the child was taken to a local hospital with a 100-degree temperature and was treated and released. Arrangements are still being made with the Van Buren Township Police Department for the defendant to turn herself in for arraignment. The next case happens out of the city of Dearborn, and we are charging 2 women from the city of Detroit for a drowning of a child 5 years old who was unable to speak or hear. This happened at a party that was given at this particular location at the Hyatt Regency, I believe, in the city of Dearborn. We are charging both of these women with 1 count of involuntary manslaughter and 1 count of child abuse in the 2nd degree. And these are, of course, in connection with the drowning death of this 5-year-old male child. And this happened on October the 5th, 2012, at about 9:40 p.m. We have listed the facts here to you, but basically, these 2 women have been, we're alleging that these 2 women have been drinking and were in the hot tub area and not properly supervising the children, and that there were 15 of them that were in the pool. And when one of them was getting out of the hot tub to prepare the children to return to the hotel room, one of the defendants jumped into the pool and pulled the dead boy out, again, who could not speak or hear. A doctor was at the hotel, performed the CPR, but the child was never regained consciousness. Both defendants are expected to turn themselves in today at 1 o'clock to be arraigned in the 19th District Court in the city of Dearborn. The last case that we're going to talk about today is out of the city of Westland. It's another unsafe sleep situation, the second one that I mentioned earlier. And this is one where we are charging Cassie Lynn Lawrence, 29 of Westland, with 1 count of involuntary manslaughter and 1 count of child abuse in the 2nd degree. And this happened on April the 21st, 2013, where the Westland Police Department dispatch received information about a 4-month-old baby that was found not breathing at a home located on Genesee Court in Westland. It's alleged that the mother that we are charging left her infant child home alone, and the child was later found dead. And we're alleging that she was seriously impaired by taking over 7 types of prescription medications when she left the child home alone. The arraignment of the defendant will occur this afternoon at a time to be determined by the 18th District Court. We have provided for you some information on unsafe sleep. Again, these 2 cases that we're talking about today, maybe it's 3, I'm sorry, are the first time that this office has charged anyone for a death occurring out of an unsafe sleep situation. As I said before, these were all preventable deaths, and they basically fall into 3 common sense categories: unsafe sleep practices, proper water safety practices, and children left in a hot car. I want to talk about unsafe sleep just for a moment, because even though there have been a lot of campaigns across the country and here in the state of Michigan, I really would like you to assist us in getting some information out on this. 35 babies or more have died in Wayne County each year over the last 10 years. That's a minimum of 350 babies that would be alive today if proper safe sleep practices were practiced. These are part of the 120 to 140 infants who die in Michigan each year of asphyxia. And protection during sleep is absolutely essential for all infants. And most new moms or families in Michigan are educated in safe sleep practices, and they are given the pamphlet or a rendition thereof that we've given you today. Obviously, we really charge these deaths, and some of the considerations, and I'm not saying that they all were present in these cases, but some of the considerations that raise these deaths, in our view, to criminal actions could be excessive drug or alcohol use, children left alone or not properly supervised, previous unsafe sleep deaths in the home or in the family, proof that the family has been properly counseled in this area and knew the risk of unsafe sleep practices. And I want to follow that by saying, I'm giving you some safe sleep steps that are also found in the pamphlet there. 1, the baby must sleep by himself or herself in a crib, portable crib, or bassinet. The baby should always be put to sleep on his back, even when the baby can roll over. Nothing should be in the sleep area. No pillows, no blankets, no toys, no comforters, no stuffed animals or other soft things. Always, the baby's face should always be kept uncovered during sleep for easy breathing, and a sleeper should be used, or what's called a onesie, or one with feet in it instead of a blanket. The baby should never be overheated. The baby should be dressed the same way that you and I were dressed, and as little as much clothing as we would wear. A firm mattress with a tightly fitted crib sheet should be used, and no one should ever be allowed to smoke anything around the baby. I want to briefly talk about some water safety common sense tips. We've had several swimming pool deaths in hotels over the last few years. According to Safe Kids USA, water and children can be a deadly mix when there's an unsafe environment, inadequate supervision, or improperly used safety gear is present, or no safety gear is present. Drowning is the second leading cause of injury-related death among children 1 to 14 years old. Drowning can happen in as little as 1 inch of water in bathtubs, pails, buckets, swimming pools, and even toilets. A few tips. Drowning can be quick and silent. That's very unlike it's displayed on TV. It's quick and silent, can be. It's preventable. There must be active supervision by designated adults. Children should never be left unsupervised in or around water, even for a moment. The designated adult or supervisor should maintain constant visual and be within ear's length of the children in or near the water. These adults should not be on the phone or otherwise distracted. Children should be educated about safety rules, and always have the proper life-saving gear should always be present. Those are just a few. If hosting a pool party, one should make sure to have the proper number of designated adults that are going to supervise these children. And lastly, just a few facts about children being left in hot cars. Yesterday, July 31st, 2013, was National Heat Stroke Prevention Day. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, at least 24 children, I think that number is very low, these are just the reported ones, have died due to heat stroke due to being left in a car so far in 2013. Of course, you should never leave kids alone in a hot car, or any car for that matter, even briefly. Your car is a greenhouse, and temperatures can get exceedingly hot in a very short period of time. And this is a good tip. Always check the front and back seats of a car before you lock it and leave. You should remember the phrase, look before you leave. If you see a car alone in a hot car, or in a car period, call 911 immediately. That's what saved the child, we believe, in the last case we talked about. Get them out as soon as possible if they are in distress. And put your purse, briefcase, or something else you need by the car seat so you won't forget to check. So you'll look for the purse or briefcase before you get out of the car. Always lock your car when it's empty so kids can't get in it without you knowing. And lastly, I just want to say that children are much more susceptible and at a higher risk for heat-related injury than adults because their bodies make more heat relative to their size and their ability or inability to cool down. So again, I want to thank you for coming. I will take a few brief questions on these cases we're announcing today.
What made you decide to charge in these cases that had never been charged before? You were talking specifically of the unsafe sleeping conditions.
Again, and I'm not saying that all the facts will come out in trial, but again, some of those aggravating factors we feel are the adult, in addition to the unsafe sleep situation, is either impaired on drugs and alcohol, left unsupervised for a period of time, or left in care of people who would not probably do that, or they may have had a history of this kind of thing, or a child die of this before in their home.
But that can't be the first time that you've gotten circumstances like this where there's been some egregious element to it.
Well, it's the first time in my administration. I can't speak before that. And again, we can react to the cases that the police and the experts bring to us as well.
Does this signal a change or in policy perhaps in your office that you're going to start taking a much closer look at these cases? These happen all the time.
Well, you know, even due to our circumstances now and having our cases backed up because of lack of personnel, we're down 55 lawyers now. We still take a look at our cases very closely. And certainly we felt that these cases were cases that we should charge criminally because of the aggravating circumstances surrounding the unsafe sleep situations.